Hi, all. Greetings and salutations. You're listening to Behind the Bib podcast. Hi, y'all. Welcome to Behind the Bib podcast, and I'm your host, Lisa Watkins. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Behind the Bib podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Watkins, and today we are going to be talking about the race that I did this last weekend, the Mardi Gras 5K. All right, so I think this is episode 6. I think we're up to episode 6 now. And I just wanted to give a shout out to folks. Thank you so much for listening so far. And I hope that this podcast is of benefit to our local running community. So if you have any ideas for races that you think that I should do, or race directors that I should talk to, drop me a line, send me a DM, put the comments below. You know what to do. So I would be delighted to reach out to them and run the races and review the races and do all the things, right? All right, with that, I want to focus this episode on reviewing the Mardi Gras 5K that me and my run buddy did this past weekend. Need to get a shout out to my run buddy because she's just down to do anything. So, Michelle, Christy, if you guys are listening, and all the pavement pounders, of course. Thank you guys for always being awesome, for always supporting everything, and just being down to do all of the things, right? You guys rock. Okay, with that, let's talk about the Mardi Gras 5K. The race was this past weekend on Saturday, February 8th. It was in downtown Huntsville. The start line was right there at the Publix, the Twickenham Publix. That's right there between It started right there between Cajun Steamer and the Publix, right? So actually, Cajun Steamers was I think they were one of the big sponsors of the race this year. And speaking of sponsors and what the race benefits, this is the annual Mardi Gras 5K. It benefits the Blount Hospitality House of Huntsville. If you don't know about this great organization, it's a house where family members can come and stay if they have folks that are being taken care of nearby in the Huntsville hospital system. And it provides them tools and necessities and things like that while their loved ones are being cared for in Huntsville Hospital. So it's a great organization that does some good work in our community. So the race itself was wonderful. It's a great 5K that's here in Huntsville. It had a great vibe. They had great music to start with from the DJ at the start line. And the runners, it was a little bit of a smaller race this year, but the runners seemed pretty stoked to be there. And there were some speedy mixed speedsters out there running, 17, 18-minute 5Ks. And then there were also some folks that were out there walking. And so the finish times varied widely, right? So great vibe, great music, great support from the local runners. I will say that this race, I think, was a little bit smaller than it has been in the past. I've done this race a lot. We usually do this race every year because it's Mardi Gras. Why would you not take an opportunity to do a Mardi Gras race if it's right in your hometown, right? And so people dress up and have the purple, yellow, and green colors, and they have the mask and the tutu and the beads and everything. So it's really fun. I will say they don't actually throw beads on the course. The first year I did this, I was like, oh, we're gonna go get some beads, and yeah. that didn't happen. So I have since adjusted my expectations of the Mardi Gras 5K in the more recent years, because they did not throw beads. However, you are more than welcome to show up with beads on if you so desire. Although we did do that a couple of years, it's really not easy to run in beads, so because they kind of bounce everywhere, so not super cool. Anyway, I digress. So the Mardi Gras 5K, benefiting the Blount Hospitality House in downtown Huntsville, the start line was right there between the Twickenham Publix and the Cajun Steamers, right there where like Taco Mama and the Pants Store is, and it's right across from, it's now Another Broken Egg right there. So that's where the start line was. And then we took off. I am directionally challenged, so I can't tell you if that was east or west or north or south. We ran down the street between Publix and Cajun Steamer, and we turned left there on Low. And we ran up like toward the courthouse, up Low Avenue, and we kind of went around Big Spring Park there. And then we turned up beside the Children's Museum, and we took that hill on the way to the courthouse. And then once you get up that small hill that goes right there beside the Children's Museum, and you go around there by the courthouse, then you go down Eustis. And if you've done the Eustis I think it's Avenue. If you've done the Eustis Avenue Hill, it's a long stretch, right? So you kind of start going down the hill, which is great. You feel great because it's all downhill, and it's not that hard of a downhill. It's just like a long, slow, easy downhill. But then you go up the other side, and so it's a pretty long stretch hill. And that's really the worst of it. It's a pretty flat course outside of that. There's a couple of small hills, like I said, at the beginning before the courthouse. And then the Eustis Avenue one, and then you circle back around and you come up behind the Von Braun Center over there. So from Eustis Avenue, you go down through that neighborhood where it used to be called, I think, the Annie Mertz Center, like where the school board was and stuff like that. I think it's now, I think it's a private school now. I'd have to look up the name of it. But maybe it's Providence Private School, something like that. So you run around that, and then you just run through the downtown Five Points neighborhood, which is really lovely. That neighborhood's always great to run in. It's usually pretty safe to run into. It's a great, safe neighborhood. I know a lot of our, we run downtown Huntsville pub runs. We'll go through that neighborhood. And then we used to have Tata Tuesday runs that went through that neighborhood too. So it's a pretty safe neighborhood. So it's really great. So, once you go through that neighborhood and you pass the Annie Mertz Center there, or what used to be the Annie Mertz Center, actually I think they might have tore that down. I think that was the construction they were doing, and the Providence School might be right beside it, or maybe it's just part of it. Anyway, not sure about that. But the point being that you run through downtown. That's the whole point to all of this, is you start at Publix, right there beside Cajun Steamers. You go up to the courthouse. You go down that long hill beside that's like Eustis Avenue. You circle around. You go through the Five Points neighborhood back there, and then you come back up through like where the Von Braun Center is. You run down through there, and then circle around by the AC Marriott there at Big Spring Park, right? So you circle around there, and then you turn back onto Low. Is that Low? I'd have to look that up. You turn back onto the street that the AC Marriott is on, and then there's a new Condado Tacos, I think, is right there. And that's where you turn right. And then you go up it's, I don't know, maybe a few hundred yards, and then you turn back left onto Pelham Avenue, and then you're done. I mean, it's a pretty quick 5K. The hill isn't that bad, but I will confess, it's not a confession. I have every right to walk the hill. We totally walk the hill. In fact, I will let you in on a little secret. We use our walk-run intervals for almost every race. There's been a few races where we won't use it, and we'll just kind of go on fill and take a walk break when we just want to. But what has helped us more than anything is that we schedule our walk breaks. And so for this 5K, I think we did like a 3-minute run at like a 9-ish minute pace, and then we did a 1-minute walk. And the 1-minute walk is about 15-minute pace. That's a pretty good clip, right? It's like a walk with purpose. And that averages out to be about like 11-ish minutes, and that's right around the pace that we finished the 5K from. So, which the run is a pretty good run. I know some people would call that party pace. I don't. I call that a run pace. And but still, we had a great time. There was some folks that really flew through this course, and there were some folks that walked the course, right? And then I think everybody had a good time overall. The weather was actually pretty great. I think my perfect weather is right around 50 degrees. So if I woke up and I could just type in the weather that I would want on the run that day, I would say 50 degrees, some humidity, not super humid, but not super dry. I mean, we are in Huntsville, Alabama. Super humid is 100% humidity, and we hit that in the summer. We absolutely do. But not super dry, because then you have, then I just feel parched the whole time. So, maybe like 20-30% humidity would be optimal, would be perfect, right? And then just a light breeze, maybe 2 to 3, 4 mile per hour breezy winds. That would be like my perfect day. Oh, and overcast. Because the sun, I wear glasses, right? And so when I run, if it's really sunny out, I have to choose between my glasses, being able to see the street signs, and if it's really sunny, then I have my sunglasses on. So I have to choose. And on Saturday, I did not have to choose because it was almost perfect weather, at least my perfect weather. So about 50 degrees. It was a little cooler when we first got there. It was overcast. So not super bright sun, at least that I remember. And then just a light breeze every now and then. The humidity wasn't super bad. I do remember, though, getting really thirsty, which was weird because I don't normally take my handheld on a 5K, right? And I remember thinking I was really thirsty when we first started. And so my run buddy Michelle and I was like, God, I'm thirsty. And she's like, yeah, me too. And so I was looking forward to I thought maybe they would have a water stop on the way. And that's maybe one of if this race had a con, I hate to say that for these small, little neighborhood races like that. But if it had a con, as in a pro and a con, if it had a con, I would say maybe one water table kind of halfway through would be nice, because I was kind of thinking, I'd like to have a little something before I finished, and turns out that they didn't have a water table on the course. And there are some folks that are, if they're out there walking, or maybe it's their first 5K, or they just need water, and they, some folks need more than others. That's probably what I'd recommend, is just put a water stop maybe halfway, right? The other thing that we did experience was You know how the police will come and they will block off the intersection, which, by the way, thank you. I know that, you have to get up early and you go out there, but I do appreciate it. All the runners on the course, I hope, appreciate it. We always try to say, hey, thank you for being here. That is, if I can breathe at the moment. Sometimes I just say, thank you for being here. And they understand, right? I will say that there were some intersections where, like, the police had the intersection blocked off, and then for some reason, like, there were cars that would come through the intersection, and there were some parts of the course where we're running along, and then there was also cars there with us too, and so that was super confusing. I did notice there were some people up front from us, and either they had earbuds in or something, but they weren't paying attention either. And the car comes up behind them, right? Because we thought we had the whole road. We did not have the whole road, and the car came up behind them, and it's just maybe not the safest, right? It's maybe we could pay attention to that next year with cones or something. I don't know exactly how to fix that, but I did notice that a couple of times. It's not the safest of approaches, right? Because some of the runners just weren't paying attention, and the cars would come up behind them. And they were probably doing the same thing I was doing, which was assuming that the road was closed. That was not a good assumption on this course, because in some cases the road was not closed. Okay, so let's talk about some pros and cons. Like a couple of the cons were the cars, kind of coming onto the course, or not having those roads closed, not having a water stop maybe halfway through. But this is a small, neighborhood charity race, right? So I don't want to be too hard on them. I will say it had some great pros, right? So being a Mardi Gras race, I just love the opportunity to dress up for anything, really. It doesn't have to even be a race, but for a race it's even better. And we didn't dress up in costume as much as we just were Mardi Gras colors. I did notice some people really had some fun with it, with the hats and the tutus and the outfits and the leggings and the all of the Mardi Gras colors. And so hats off to you if you have that stuff, because that's super fun. I thought it was super fun. Next year, I hope to get my act together early enough in advance to maybe get some of those things that I could wear to the race. You'd think after years of doing this, I would have it. Nope, I do not. So big pro was that, people were really getting into the Mardi Gras spirit. I will say that this race, because of where it starts, they don't have to worry so much about porta pots. So the whole porta pot issue was kind of a non-issue here, because runners could go into Publix. They could go into Cajun Steamer. They could also go into, I think even Taco Mama was open at that time. And being a Mardi Gras race, and earlier in February, a lot of times, it can get really cold out there. This particular race day was not that cold, but it can get cold. I've done this race when it's been very cold. So it's really great that it starts right there in downtown, because you can kind of duck into Publix and stay warm until the race starts. And if you happen to need a clean bathroom to use, you can use their clean bathroom too. So that's super cool. So great big pro on that account. Let's see. Before the race, some good race energy. They have the DJ out there playing music. I don't know if it's a DJ. I can't remember it, but there's some good music going on out there. The vibe was pretty high. People were excited. It is a small race, though, and I think this year it was even smaller than I've seen it in previous years. I looked at the stats after after we got back from the race, and I think they had about 166 runners, which is pretty small, right? It's kind of, but don't let that fool you, because people were having a good time, and runners were getting around chatting. The Fleet Feet race team was there, so shout out to them, AJ and the rest of the Fleet Feet race team. And I think they have like a Winter Winds training team that was there as well. So great job, you guys, and so shout out to y'all. So I think folks, we're enjoying the community on a Saturday morning, right? Okay, so a few pros, a few cons, and let's talk about the demographics of the race a little. So like I said, okay, so like I said, let's talk about the demographics a little. If you want all the official results, you can go to the Huntsville Track Club. They have a great website where they post dang nearly every race that goes around or goes on in our community, and they post the results and the age groups, the overall and the age group results on their website. So thank you, Huntsville Track Club, for doing that. It's a great resource to our community. Okay, so for the 5K, I did see that the top male finished, I think it was around 17 minutes. The top female was around 20 minutes, and she was young. I think she was pretty young. So, but where I want to pay attention to is, even though the top finishers were in the 17 to 20 minute range, there were runners and walkers still coming in at the hour and 4 minute mark. And so I point this out for a reason, and that's because next year when this race comes around, this Mardi Gras 5K comes around, and you're listening to this podcast because you're unsure of a 5K, or maybe you're wanting to do your first 5K, or you're training for it, you're just not sure about it. So the pace variations were very what they allowed, the cutoff time for this race was very lenient. It's you can walk the whole thing comfortably. And I do recommend folks do that. Like, if you're unsure about where you are in a race that's coming up, take this 5K for instance, and I know typically where I'm walking a 5K, I kind of know my pace, but I haven't done a race in person yet. Just go on and look at their previous results, right? You can get an idea of kind of where you fall in the pack, and if there's typically a lot of walkers, and I think this race does typically have a lot of walkers. So I think it's an accessible race, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I would give it the endorsement for being pace inclusive, if you were going to go behind the bib on that one. I think the largest field in the race, as far as demographics go, I think the largest field was the female 30 to 39. I think they had mid-20s runners, 26, 27 runners, something like that. And then followed by, usually it's my field, my age group that has the most runners. And this time it was that, I think it was the 30 to 39 age group, followed by the 50 to 59 age group for the women. And I have noticed, there's been a lot of women that's out here doing these races. And so that's one of the things that I want to try to start paying attention to, is the demographic spread for each of the races. I think that's really interesting. I kind of dig those visualizations. Excuse me. I dig those visualizations and stuff. So, largest age group were the female 30 to 39 with 26 runners, followed by the female 50 to 59, and they had about 21 runners. So overall runners, they had 166 overall runners, so it's kind of small, neighborhood race. It was super fun. Okay, so from a non-elite perspective, aka your girl here, it's very good for middle, back of the packer. It's great for the front of the packer. These guys were flying through the race. I know that Eustace Hill probably slowed you down a little bit, but it's, it's a good, powerful run up that hill. So I would fully endorse this race. If you're looking at one to look at maybe for your first 5K or just an accessible, walkable 5K next year when it comes back around. So, very beginner friendly. I will say the one thing, and maybe somebody on here can help me understand, because I don't understand it. This is the color for the race this year. And you see the t-shirt color, right? I don't understand the color. I don't understand why it's not like purple or green, or like purple and green and yellow, or just green or just yellow. Like one of the I don't understand why it's not just one of the Mardi Gras colors. So maybe somebody can say, Lisa, it was because of this, right? So I would love to understand that if somebody could help me out with that and you're listening. So there's that. just a little bit. Okie dokie. So before I wrap this episode up talking about the Mardi Gras 5K in downtown Huntsville, benefiting the Blount Hospitality House, first of all, it was a great race. I enjoyed myself immensely. We went and had lattes and bagels at Canadian Bacon. And if you are new to Huntsville, or even if you're old to Huntsville and you haven't tried Canadian Bacon, you should totally go try the place. Now, if you're avoiding our carbohydrates, it's not the easiest place to do that with, because boy, they love carbs, aka it's a bagel shop, right? They make from scratch all of their bagels every day. And personal recommendation is my favorite after 5Ks or after our long runs that we do downtown is the Fathead, which is like a chocolate chip bagel sandwich. It's like bacon and chocolate. It's like sweet and savory both. It's fantastic. And then I always get that with their miel, which is, I think, like a honey-based latte, which is not super sweet, and it's not super, it's just sweet enough, and it's perfect for me. So that's my recommendation if you're running in downtown Huntsville and you need a place to stop for a caffeine hit or a bagel hit after your long run. Okay, so overall, great race. I felt wonderful after the race. I felt wonderful, even more wonderful after the bagel and the latte at Canadian Bacon. 2 thumbs up, hats off. And to my run buddies and my new run buddy that showed up with us, Miss Lindley, thank you for coming to breakfast with us. Shout out to you. And speaking of shout outs, I need to give 2 big ones this week. Big shout out to Amanda S. She does the pub run all the time. Amanda does all the runs. And she's a little speedy McSpeedster too. So, but super great gal. And talked to her at the Running Lane, their big run sign up event a couple of weeks ago. And she was like, hey, I listen on this podcast platform. And I think the one she told me about was Pocket Casts. I think that's the right one. Anyway, she's like, hey, I listen to Pocket Casts because I can download them and I can listen to them a little bit easier. And so I totally set that up, and now I think I'm pushing to Pocket Cast. So thank you, Amanda S., for that little tip. And if there's anybody else out there that's listening and you have a different listening platform that you prefer to listen to your podcasts on, just shoot me a message, because I'm happy to try to push to different locations. I just don't know all of them. There's a ton of them out there. So I just don't know all of them yet. So I'm happy to try to push to whatever platform that you listen on, if you have a specific one that you love. So happy to do that. Okay, that's shout out number 1. I don't know, maybe it's number 4 in this episode. I've done a lot. So that's a shout out to Amanda S. And then the second shout out, I know it's been several weeks, but I wanted to give Katie B from LJ, Georgia a shout out because she just completed her first 15K. I think she's officially drank the Kool-Aid. And so just wanted to say congratulations on completing your first 15K. I think it was 15. And I think you've got a half marathon coming up. So congratulations on there and best wishes for your upcoming race. And maybe we'll see you at a marathon in the future, right? I don't know. Just saying. A marathon might be out there for you. Okay. With that, let me know if you want to see this podcast on any other platforms. I would love to know that. And please hit the little subscribe button. Leave me a review. I think it's like five stars if you appreciate that. It's super helpful. It helps me show up on different locations. So if you want to leave a review, that's great. It is. You can also follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. It's Behind the Bib on Instagram and on Facebook. And I'm working on the website right now to get that up and going. With that, every Monday I do a Medal Monday where you can look on there and you can brag about the race that you did that weekend, drop a picture, drop a shout out, and so I love to see that interaction. I do it on all kinds of different platforms as well. So look for that. Look for Welcome Wednesdays on the Instagram and Facebook pages as well. And with that, I think I'm going to sign off. Y'all keep on running, and I will keep on sharing stories at Behind the Bib, where we have real talk for every runner. All right. Y'all take care. We'll see y'all later.